Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Good day, and welcome to the Talking Drum on Viva Niger Radio. My name is Rachel, and I will be your host for tonight. If you can hear me sounding a little bit funny, that trepidation you can hear in my voice is me just feeling some type of way because this show, I've never seen anything like this before. This is probably going to be one of our most heated, most fiery, most tempestuous show there is. I don't know, we're going to be talking about a very touchy, very sensitive topic. And so we're going to be talking about Nigeria's civil war, Biafra. We're also going to be talking about what happens after the fact, right? Biafra came 50 years ago. There was a civil war that actually rocked our nation. The Igbo tribe wanted to secede, wanted to stand separately from the rest of the country, and we didn't want to be split up. We didn't want to be divided, and so there was a huge war. There were many players within the war, and they altogether, Biafra didn't succeed that first time around. That was 50 years ago. We actually celebrated that on Wednesday, I believe it was last week. We celebrated 50 years Democracy Day of Nigeria staying together. But more importantly, a lot of Nigerians took that as their celebration of staying together as one country. Now, at that time, there was a call by Mr. Kanu, who asked for Igbo people to sit. There was a sit-at-home demonstration where the Igbo tribe was once again, or the Igbo nation, or the Biafra nation was once again clamoring for their own country and wanted to secede from Nigeria. So we have now seen an increase in a call for Biafra once again, and many things go along with this. There are many people who are for, there are many people who are against, and this is what we're going to discuss tonight. Now, as you know how we do it night after night on Talking Drum, every week. Sorry, I'm just, my studio is already buzzing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to try and keep this as fair as possible. As you know how we do it every week, we have never been one to take the path of least resistance. We do bring everything on the table. We do discuss everything, but we always try to do it in a sensitive, sympathetic, and intelligent manner. As a result, I will try my best to moderate this conversation. It is a very, very touchy, a very sensitive topic, and people are going to get in their feelings. So hopefully we're going to be able to come away with some truths on this topic. We're going to be able to shed some light on what this is. I will be the first to put my hand up and say, I don't know that much about Biafra. I don't know that much about what it stands for, what the people who are fighting for this cause, what they actually want. All I seem to see a lot of on social media is there's lots of people who are for it, and they're for it with very, very emotional reasons, right? They're like, no, Igbos have been maligned, Igbos have been marginalized, and so therefore they decide what is your business. If they want their own country, give them their own country, blah, 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 with very little by way of facts and figures or dates or anything like that. On the other hand, the people who are against are like, these are what people say. They just want to destroy the whole country. They want to set us apart. They want to divide us. They do. Listen, I was born Nigerian. I'm one Nigerian. Nigeria should stay together. Don't mind them. They don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. And once again, with very little by way of facts, figures, dates, or everything that actually happened. So in trying to put together some structure for the show, I actually did not do that much research. Not because I'm a lazy radio host or anything like that, but because I noticed that a lot of the stuff out there was actually polarized one way or the other. There was very little out there by way of actually factual information to do with the war that happened then, or indeed to do with what it is that the Biafrans are clamoring for today. And also because I felt like I want to learn as much as I hope you guys will from this show, and actually take away something from the show. So to that end, I've got a couple of speakers on here who are both for and who are against the show as well. So we're going to be bringing people into the show one by one, and we're going to be listening to their points as we go along. But for for our listeners at home, if you'd like to join us for the show, this is the numbers you need to call. If you are calling from Nigeria, you will need 01-440-5024. If you're joining us from the UK, you're going to need 0330-998-1261. If you're dialing in from America, this is the number you're going to need: 712-770-4032. Regardless of what number you dial, the access code you're going to need is 264812. That telephone number, once again, is 264812. So now that we've done that, okay, let me welcome my callers into the house, see who I've got in the studio, and make sure that I've got everyone can hear me, you guys can hear me at home, and we can get the show started. So caller telephone number, okay, so this is Bimbo, telephone number ending 6309. Bimbo, that's you, right? Hi.
Yes, that's me. Sorry, I was on mute. Hi.
Hi, Bimbo. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
I am good, thank you.
I've no reason why your name deleted from this. Is this the number you normally call with?
6309, yes.
Yeah. Oh, so now it's not showing. I don't know. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you in the house. I'm sure you and I are going to be learners as much as anything else. So let me bring in a couple of other people I've got in the studio. I can't see this number. I can see something. Victoria, I think. Hi, Victoria. Are you with us? Hi, there's someone who's dialed in with the name Victoria. Is that you? If you can hear us, could you say something? Okay, maybe this person just wants to listen and doesn't necessarily want to say anything. So, the last person.
Well, my name is not Victoria.
Who is this?
Bookie.
Bookie, hi. Hi, Bookie!
Hi. How are you?
I just saw Victoria. I think I'm here. I don't know why it's written your name like that. Anyway, Bookie, thank you so much for joining. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a friend of mine who is a political pundit par excellence. I always respect her opinions. I may not always agree with them, but my God, she can argue them to a logical conclusion. Another thing that I find completely amazing about Bookie is it's always objective, right? It's never impassioned, or it's not, for lack of a better word, an emotional response to a stimulus or to a question. You are actually able to intelligently dissect a matter in a way that you understand it. So to that point, I begged her to come on the show. She said she has some opinions on Biafra, which may not necessarily be welcome by either side of the fence, but she's more than happy to share them with us. So I thank you so much. And I know it was very short notice, so thank you so much for being able to join us. Please stay for as long as you possibly can. This is so exciting. I'm looking forward to hear you speaking with us. So thank you for joining us, Bookie.
Thank you for the invitation. Very pleased to be here.
And then our final call.
Since my head is 10 times bigger.
So our final caller, you deserve every word of that. But you can tell I'm nervous. It's almost like I'm a radio show virgin, right? Because this show, I'm just envisaging all sorts of your father. I know go better for you. I don't even know what's gonna happen by the end of the show. Our final caller in the house, telephone number ending 4215. Caller, thank you for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Obina Alinkwe.
Obina, thank you so much for joining us. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend Obina. He's a Facebook friend, and he's someone who is arguing on the side of those for the Biafra nation. One of the reasons why I invited him, for the same reason why I wanted Buki on the show, is simply because he's one of the few people that I actually saw on Facebook who was actually able to articulate their thoughts in a way that made sense to me. So again, I'm going to say it again. I don't necessarily want people to just say we want Biafra just because we want it. I want to know how it started, how we got to where we are today, how we are doing, what we're doing, and what the way is forward for Nigeria, basically, regardless of what way you sit on the fence. We need to work out what happens to our nation next, right? Other people in the house. I have Rachel America. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. This lines are fantastic today. Everyone sounds so clear. Ladies and gentlemen, can the rest of you hear the rest of you, by the way?
Oh, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, clearly.
Okay, and we have the Barry White of the Bad Gang. Dolakbo, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Hey, good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So your voice is gonna lend a nice soothing, once everybody gets out of hand, I expect you to shout order in your nice baritone voice. So that's your job for this evening. So I was expecting one more caller to join us. He's going to be dialing in from Nigeria, so I'm hoping he'll be able to join us anytime soon. Who is going to help us with the against side. So, and again, this is someone who I actually asked to join us because he seemed to have a lot of facts and figures for reasons why Biafra is a non-starter or why they shouldn't even seek the secession that they now seek. Once again, I expect people to speak their opinions or speak their sides and do so with reasons, right? With articulate, eloquent, well thought out reasons. You don't have to agree, but you do have to come to the table with something more than I know agree because I know agree. Otherwise, that's not a debate. That's not an argument. That's just you having a 2-year-old tantrum. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to start straight away with Obina. Obina, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So I have some questions for you, and I want you to explain this to me like a complete Biafra noob, because that's what I am. And I want you to just talk us through, because I don't know, I did secondary school in Nigeria starting from JS3. I didn't do JS1 or 2. And even when I was to do secondary school, I did it in Warri in Delta State. So let me go around the room first. Did you all do secondary school in Nigeria? Was Biafra taught I'm just amazed that I know more about the Holocaust and I know more about the slave trade in America than I do about a civil war that happened in my own country. And it's not even ancient history. I mean, if we're talking about 50 years since Biafra, were you guys taught this in school? Let me start with Dolakbo. Dolakbo, were you taught about Biafra in school at all?
Well, I mean, I did my first 3 years of secondary school in the Federal Government College in Ilorin.
Okay.
Before my parents thought that I was just too rascally and I needed to be close to home, so I finished up in Loyola College, Ibadan. Okay. Now, yes, we were taught about the Civil War, which was what it was called. It was glazed over. There was no slanting towards any particular side other than it was a war, and it was a war about, an agitation for secession. And eventually, reason prevailed, and it was over. And in fact, I remember we're told this phrase, as according to Gowon, no victor, no vanquished. But I, on my own, also have delved into it as much as I can, okay, with the white trying to separate away from the actual facts, all the slants that people may come in with or the biases that they may come with. Mm-hmm. So yes, we were taught, yeah.
Okay. Bimbo, do you have any experience of this? Buki, do you have any experience of this? Bimbo, you first, please.
We were taught, if you consider that, like what Dolapo was saying,
it was just mentioned as Civil War. You get, it happened in years, and that was pretty much it.
Okay.
It wasn't anything particularly detailed or anything like that. And like you, I know very little in terms of facts and figures about it.
Okay. So let me go back to Obina, who I was actually going to ask the question, my first question. Sorry, I've got the Nigerian caller here, and we're just going through some technical issues. Were you taught a lot about Biafra while in school, or is a lot of what you feel now or where you stand on the issue based on what you read up and what you taught yourself? And I mean, where did you get, first of all, the interest at all? Do you have maybe parents or relatives or friends who, well, maybe not friends, but parents, relatives, uncles, aunties who came down, the family line with stories about what happened? Or how did you get involved in even having an idea to the point of even having an opinion on the Civil War?
Okay, first of all, I would say the interest came from two areas. Yeah. They say he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches the most. You understand?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it pinches the most. So I mean, it's easy for one from the west and the north to easily gloss over such a very, very important part of our history, because at the time the war was going on, most of them were either in schools, their parents were either in schools studying or doing some other thing.
Sure.
The only people who, on the federal side, who would say they witnessed the Civil War were the soldiers. Yeah.
Okay.
On the other hand, while Westerners and Northerners were studying, getting into universities and doing everything, our own parents were learning under trees and dodging bombs and picking up the bodies of their siblings from gutters and after air raids. So,
you felt, what you're saying is you felt the full brunt of the war. So you can say a war happened, whereas a lot of people in the West cannot say that.
Very true. For a lot of people down east who were alive then, the war was their life.
Sure.
You know, just like you can say there are some events that categorize your life before and after.
Sure.
For example, you can remember what your life before your dad died and after your dad died. The war was a very, very critical event for those in the eastern part of the country.
Okay.
Just like Boko Haram now, you see, people in Lagos just hear a bomb went off in Maiduguri, a bomb went off in Bla, a bomb went off in the other state, a bomb went off in the other state. You hear it in the news. You go about your daily activities. You do what you're supposed to do.
A bomb has gone off in Maiduguri, excuse me.
Yes. Yeah. So for some people, I mean, for someone in Lagos, that's just news.
Yeah.
But for some people, they live it daily.
Yes.
You understand? Some people, they live it daily. So it was only natural that in a country that tends to deny its history, those from the eastern part will be more keen.
Okay.
Understand?
Okay.
That is one. Then the second one is, personally, as a natural person, it came naturally. I had a dad. He's late now, bless his soul. He is an avid historian.
Okay.
And it's not only limited to Nigeria, it's limited to everything. That's why I know a lot about Hitler, I know a lot about Mussolini, I know a lot about Francisco Franco and everything. So, but just like you, just like the others, I was ashamed that, my country's history, which is just about 50 years old, is hard to come by the figures, the details.
Yes.
So I took extra effort to go and find out, verify. And it's still shameful because a lot of things are contradictory. You understand?
And that's what I found too. Yeah, you would read something and you would say, I beg, give the Igbo people their land. They don't try, you don't do. They're not asking for anything too much.
Yeah,
and then you will read something else and you'll say, man, these Igbo people, they need to sit down, man. They are not even,
The thing is, there is a lot of unverified information. And there's a lot of information written by biased authors who have a stake.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
you cannot read a book written by Obasanjo.
Sorry, just 1 minute.
Read...
Sorry, Obina, if you just give me 1 minute. There's a caller, I think it's an American number, telephone number ending 9921. Caller, can you hear me? Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I am Ekirite Francis Eko.
Ekirite, hi. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I think we now have a full house. So, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to come right back to you, Obina. Okerite is the gentleman I invited to come on board to speak on the against side. Now, Okerite, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and ask each side a question. And for the other listeners, speakers, you can just, of course, in a civilized manner, just chip in where you want, when you want, how if you have something that you would like to add to it. But I just thought it is of importance to have two people on each side, to have a person on each side, right? So, Ekirite, please meet Obina. Obina is going to be speaking to a large extent on the for side. Obina, please say good evening to Ekirite so that the discourse
Good evening, Ekirite.
Hi, good evening, Obina.
Good
Fantastic.
evening.
So, Obina, sorry, if you'd like to proceed, please.
Yeah, so I was saying, you cannot read a book by Obasanjo and take it as law or as an authoritative account.
Because he was fighting for a side, yes.
Exactly. You cannot read a book by Frederick Forsyth and take it as an authority because Frederick Forsyth was a personal friend of Ojukwu.
Yes.
Yeah? And now this is complicated by the fact that neither Ojukwu nor Gowon wrote memoirs on that civil war. That is one of the greatest injustice ever done to the history of that war. You understand?
Yes.
You see? So that is one of the greatest injustices. You understand? So but at the end of the day, one who has read widely can still draw patterns.
And that's acceptable.
One can still draw patterns. You understand?
But would you say, and this is a question that I will also ask Ekirite, would you say that the patterns that you're drawing or the conclusions that you're coming to might come from a slant you already have, being Igbo? So are you quicker to perhaps discount something that might go against the fights for Biafra and perhaps favor a comment that might go for the secession?
Well, you see, I like being very, very balanced, right? You understand? I like being very, very balanced. And in any war, there is no saint or sinner. You understand? But you see, there is overwhelming responsibility. Yeah? And we're going to trash it out tonight because I believe the narrative from the Igbo side is more authentic than not in terms of looking at it from the point of view of overwhelming responsibility.
Okay.
During the Second World War, as the Second World War ended, about some thousands of Germans were rounded up in Czechoslovakia and shot in retaliation for the genocide, for what Germany did. But you see, at the end of the day, that does not remove the culpability of the Second World War from Germany.
No.
It was the Germans who killed 6 million Jews. It was the Germans who initiated the Second World War. It was the Germans who attacked Poland. They attacked Poland, they attacked Russia, they attacked all these other places. You understand? But at the end of the day, some people gathered thousands of Germans and murdered them. So you see, in every war there is no saint or sinner, but there is overwhelming responsibility.
Okay, I'll take that. So let me, and I can hear the gentlemen have points to make. So let me go over to Ekirite. Ekirite, I could hear you saying some things in the background, but we couldn't hear you properly. So this is your floor now. I think you want to rebut a couple of things that Obina said, and then I'm going to ask you the question. You missed a little bit of the intro. Were you taught a lot about Biafra while you were in secondary school or perhaps university, or what got you interested in that civil war that made you as knowledgeable, or why are you as passionate or as knowledgeable as you are about it? So first of all, if you have any rebuttals for what Obinna said, please do repeat them, and then please do say them, I should say. And then, why are you invested in this? Why do you know so much? Why did you go out of your way to study? Buki, please get ready, because I'm going to ask you the same thing. So yes, please, Ekerete, I'm listening.
Yes. Okay, something I said quite some things, and then
Please speak up.
We're going to need you to speak up or come right to the speaker, please.
Sorry, please. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Something I kept on saying. Well, he said a couple of things, right? And I'll just point out that there is no way to prove that Obinna himself as a person is unbiased. Now, unfortunately, there's something he said which is quite true, even though he didn't put it the way I would have wanted for it to be put. The history we have, well, there has really been no documented per se history about the civil war by Nigeria. There's no official record of that history by Nigeria as a country. Most of what we get are what we call narratives. We have from journalists within Nigeria, we have from journalists outside Nigeria, we have from countries that are not Nigeria. So we therefore are left to sieving through a lot of information and trying to make sense of it, because truth is, everybody is going to write a form of bias or the other.
Yes.
He is Igbo, so he is likely going to stand on the side of the Igbos. A northern person writing about it is likely going to stand on the side of a northerner. Obasanjo writing about it is likely going to stand on the side of government, because he was part of government at the time. So all of that contributes to the bias that that creates this gulf between every participant in the story that is the Biafran War. Of course, they call it the Biafran War. It was not the Biafran War. An American journalist, I think that's his name, refuses to call it the Biafran War. He called it the Civil War in Nigeria because the war was riddled with disagreement. A lot of disagreement.
Ekerete, I think you're moving around and your sound keeps coming in and out.
Sorry, I'm trying to get a better location. Sorry, please. He said, right? How can we call it Biafra if, in the first place, we hadn't decided on Biafra?
You mean they hadn't decided that the name of the nation would be Biafra? Is that what you mean?
It would be called Biafra. It was just a group of people who, had this dream and vision, which, personally I wouldn't question. I mean, dreams.
So I'm going to come back to that. I don't want us to veer off point. So let me come back to the question, which is why are you so interested in this? Did you go ahead and study this?
I'm interested in Biafra because, the first time I heard of Biafra was from my father. He had his experience, which he narrated to us, and it was not friendly at all. Some of his friends also had their own narratives, which, wasn't nice at all. As a matter of fact, there are narratives that go to suggest that, then the Biafran soldiers were also perpetrating evil on their fellow Biafrans. There is a narrative that would suggest that the Nigerian army perpetrated evil on the other Biafrans. Now, when I say other Biafrans, I mean Biafrans that are not Igbos.
Right. Okay. And this is a question I'm going to come to. I'm going to come to the map, the current map of Biafra as it stands, because my mom is Delta. So we have a side of my family where I've heard stories about the sorts of things that filtered down, from the East Coast over to where she's from. So your interest mainly stems from stories and things you heard as a child or as a young man from your father and older relatives, I would imagine, right?
Yes, and so
Fantastic.
that led me into trying to find out. We had some books in the house. My father had books from the Biafran War, and we had magazines from the time. We had magazines. My father worked in Central Bank of Nigeria, and at the time, he used to get financial reports, and so we could get some information from financial reports on TBN, the Bullion magazine we used to have at the time. And I tried to make sense of it all. And interestingly, I seem to be the only person who even cared enough to try to find out what really happened in Biafra. My sister is a lawyer, and her resolution, I have not discussed with her, learned about it, is, like dislike, disgust, irritation, hatred towards the very idea of Biafra. I have a couple of Igbo friends also who have that, who hold that opinion or who hold that idea concerning Biafra. Nothing friendly at all. Just
to
like
think
I
about
said,
it.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay,
so I'm gonna try and be keeping the answers much more wrapped up, much tighter, because we have an hour and a half and I still have so many questions. Bimbo, Buki, what is your interest in this field? Why did you get interested? I know you're interested in all things politics. So let's keep this moving as rapidly as we can, because we haven't even gotten to the real meat yet and we're half an hour in.
History. I love history.
Okay.
I love history and I love reading. And my dad had many books on Biafra on both sides. And I think I started reading about the Civil War from when I was about 8 or 9. The truth of the matter is there are faults on both sides.
Yes.
There are atrocities on both sides. Both sides don't want to accept that. The Nigerian side doesn't want to accept it committed war crimes.
Yes.
And the Igbo side doesn't want to accept it committed war crimes too. But there's one thing that I wish both sides would understand. It's very difficult to get over a civil war.
Yes.
And the loser, forgive me, always feels bitter. Take America. Their civil war was over 100 years ago. The South still feels bitter.
Yes, yes.
The South still feels pain. They still talk about the Confederacy. They still romanticize it. So what we have in Nigeria is nothing different from what other nations have
Except,
gone through.
Of course, they are trying to... So I remember there was something about the Confederate flag, especially when this boy that cuts his hair like a pudding bowl went and killed those 9 people in the church, 9 black people in the church, and they were trying to ban and outlaw the Confederate flag, and people lost their minds. But the difference is they were not trying to bring back the war. Biafra is trying to...
Yes, but Biafra is 50 years old.
Yes.
The South has got a long time to get over it. What I'm saying is, over 100 years later, they're still flying the flag.
Yes.
They're still having meetings. They're still calling themselves, they still have groups calling themselves sons and daughters of the Confederacy.
Yes.
They still have symposiums. Texas is still fighting for the day to secede from America. So, we talk about Biafra as if what is happening in Nigeria is something absolutely unique. It's not. We've never discussed it. We don't have any healing. We don't have any.
I mean, look at me. I'm a grown woman and I don't know my own history. I'm actually on this show hoping to learn. So how can you heal? How can an Igbo person heal? How can a non-Igbo person heal when they don't even know what happens?
Yeah, I think, and I've advocated for this for a very long time, a South African type Truth and Reconciliation Committee, where people come and tell their stories. Psychologists will tell you that people shed a lot of bitterness and pain from just talking and feeling like they've been heard. Obina said something very important. The truth of the matter is that the Igbos suffered most in the war.
Yes.
Because the war was fought on Igbo land.
Yes.
Mid-Westerners too suffered a bit because, they were overrun by the Igbos and some wars were fought on their land before the Nigerian forces drove the Igbos back to Southeast Territory. So while the rest of Nigeria knew a war was being fought,
yes,
it was not affecting them in the same way.
Yes.
But Biafra or the Southeast, Biafra was a nation at the time. Biafra was being bombed. Yes. Biafra was hungry. Biafra was having to recruit child soldiers because they did not have enough grown men.
Yes. They have to.
They have to,
well,
really?
You know what I mean.
In the bid to fight the war, they had to do this. Yes, I understand exactly what Buki is saying. Yeah,
they felt they had to survive.
Yes, no, that's a better narrative. They felt they had to.
But that is what a war is, Ekirite. That is exactly what a war is. I feel like I should fight my cause and I will fight it till the very end. You don't get to say, hey, nobody told you to go and recruit child soldiers if you know.
Can I chip in here?
Yes, but Buki, please don't lose your thread of thoughts. Obina, please speak. Yeah.
Can I chip in here?
Yes.
Now, at the time, very early in the war, Murtala Mohammed, went into Asaba. When they liberated Asaba, the indigents of Asaba came out and said, okay, the federal soldiers are here. They came out shouting, one Nigeria, one Nigeria, one Nigeria, one Nigeria, and they were marching, welcoming the federal soldiers. Do you know the response of the federal soldiers? They gathered 700 men and children, men and male children, and shot all of them. Now, what do you want the rest of Biafra to think? When the only option you have...
hold on a second.
One by one.
When the only option you have is to fight for yourself.
I have Idoma friends
and
friends from Cross Rivers who talk about the atrocity that Biafran soldiers committed upon them, the rapes, the killings, the war crimes. So if we want to talk about war crimes, there's plenty of it to go around.
On both sides.
Everybody has their story.
Exactly. Everybody has their story. The war had already started. The war had been initiated. The Igbos did not wake up. Ojukwu did not wake up and see a peaceful Nigeria and say, I want to break away. There were events.
Is an opinion.
Excuse me, I'm coming. Wait, can I finish? There were events that led to that. Now, you can argue about the propriety of declaring a republic or about the propriety of continued negotiations. But the truth is this. There was a pogrom in the north. 50,000 plus Igbos were massacred.
They keep saying these Igbos. Not only Igbos were massacred.
I am coming. I am not done. Mostly Igbos, including Eastern minorities.
About. No, you see, I would interrupt.
No. Can I finish, please? Mostly Igbos, including Eastern minorities. Now, even after those massacres, nobody got up and said they were leaving. There were negotiations that took place in Ghana at Aburi. Certain terms were agreed upon. Only for the government of the day to come and renege. Now, I agree. In the eastern Nigeria, there had been agitations. You understand? By groups, minorities, to form their own entities. Now, Gowon used that as a masterstroke. I think it was at this point, because look, I'm not here to trade blame. But like I said, in everything, there is overwhelming responsibility. Gowon came, used the masterstroke, and divided the country into 12 states. Of course, from there on, the Biafran war was, the war was no longer that united on the Biafran side. That was where complications came in. But to tell me, you understand, that Biafrans committed atrocity, which is true, it did not come from anywhere. The war was started, the reason for the secession was very, very plausible. There was a pogrom. Now, a Northerner will argue that the pogrom came because a group of officers from Eastern origin carried out a coup. Now, my counter argument is this: the 50,000 plus people that were killed by Northerners, including soldiers who were paid to protect, the 50,000 people did not give blessings for any Igbo soldiers to go and plot any coup. Now, you see, when we talk about Biafra, there are three components to this thing. There is the lack of compatibility of the components of Nigeria. And I'm going beyond the 1966. There have been pogroms, there have been massacres in 1945 and 1953. In the north, in 1945, there was a massacre in Jos. In 1953, there was a massacre in Kano. So please, let no one tell me that the hostility started because...
Sorry, what are these massacres? Are you saying massacres against Igbos? So every so often, people will stand up and just kill a whole bunch of Igbo people. Nobody will do anything, and then the world will continue. And then, like 10 years later, another
that was
whole
what
bunch
happened.
of...
The 1945 massacre was in response to a market problem, some market fracas. The 1953 massacre was in response to Anthony Enahoro's request for an independence.
But this is how, the knowledge I know of Nigeria, and indeed, this is what ISIS is doing, and this is what starts war. One person go match one person leg. That person isn't going to find it funny. We've had Muslim uprisings based on people feeling Muhammad was disrespected.
Have you listened to the video by Amadou Bello where he talked about the Igbo man in 1962? There is a popular video on YouTube. Go and listen to it, and you will realize the level of division that was present in this country even before the coup. Go and listen to Go and read the minutes. Go and read
that has been existing in the UK between the Irish, the English, the Welsh, and the Scots.
The problem is that
let's bring these things in context. There is no nation on earth, unless they're made up of just one group, they all speak the same language, and they all trace their racial history to just one person, and they never subdivide into groups that have not hated each other and have not said nasty things about each other at one point in time. In the 70s, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. Come on.
Yes. Yeah, and we still have problems with the French till today.
You see the problem with Nigeria. The problem with Nigeria is a nation that has blotted its history and has refused to talk to itself. These people you talk about, I live in the UK. I follow the Scottish referendum. These people you talk about have their history properly documented. And they speak from a point of view of excellent enlightenment. In Nigeria, you will see someone quoting Obasanjo, Someone will quote to you. They are quoting very, very biased and people who have staked interest in this thing. There is no unified history.
Okay.
And the nation has refused to talk to itself.
1 minute, please. 1 minute, please. Bimbo, please give me a minute. Buki, please respond to Obina. And then Dolapo, I'm going to bring you in because I can see Dolapo has a point, but no one is giving him a chance. Buki, please answer. Buki, please respond.
Okay. Sorry to talk over anybody else. Obina, I agree with you. Our history is not documented. But instead of us fighting each other, shouldn't our generation start writing our history? Don't we owe the nation something? We are in our 40s, 50s. You know, when do we ever think we're going to give back? The leaders of these wars were younger than us. Why hasn't one of us, or why hasn't a group of us collaborated to write a definitive history of the Civil War?
But we can't even do a 2-hour radio show. How are we gonna?
Exactly. So, Rachel,
please let's just stop with the joke. This is a serious thing.
I'm not interested in blame throwing and this was who led to this and who has more to blame. How do we move on? Because you know something, even if Biafra leaves tomorrow, let's just say Nigeria says, okay, Biafra, stroll up, nice to know you. Do you know that in 10 years' time, Nigeria and Biafra will probably be locked into a war? Because there will still be the hatred on both sides.
Yes.
There will still be the history that has not been discussed on both sides. So why isn't our generation collaborating and doing something to pass something on to our children that is not just myths and mythology and blame? Let's do something. Instead of, my father said that they were the ones who macheted me. No, my father said you are the one who killed my king. Who cares?
So
if you say who cares, then you started off on the wrong footing.
When I say who cares, what I'm saying is, can I come in here? I'm sorry.
Sorry, who's speaking now, please?
This
Rachel.
is Rachel.
Rachel, okay,
I
yes,
actually
please.
wanted to say something with regards to what Buki said. And I understand what you mean when you say who cares. It's not coming from an insensitive point of view. The fact is, we cannot change this history. It doesn't matter how we banter back and forth about who's to blame. How do we move forward? How do we teach new
but I have a
generations
simple answer for that. So the simple answer for how do we move forward, the reason why we're banging on about history, not to use that word insultively at all, the reason why we're talking about history is because it's not over. This isn't about, Biafra that happened one time 50 years ago. They still want Biafra today.
That's the thing. It's not
over. We always want Biafra, but as long as we keep blaming
Okay, yes, Dolapo, we've kept Dolapo on hold for a while. Dolapo, please speak.
Let someone else use talk.
Please, I think there was a statement, made about, what, it's not over. What exactly do we have that exists today? What I've heard so far from a lot of people, with different discussion on Facebook and elsewhere, is the Igbo people are marginalized. And I'm still trying to understand where that marginalization is today, or where it's coming from today. Because you have to look at it, virtually Igbo people have been in various positions, maybe not as president, but this agitation only came about because when Buhari started his presidency, there was no agitation under Jonathan at all. Now, we can go back to history and try and rewrite history or try to argue about which history is correct. Like everybody said, both sides committed atrocities on them. And even when you look at the Second World War, even though we can talk about the Germans doing this, believe me, there were a little bit of Allied forces that did commit atrocities also. So we can argue about that. Now, if we want to go and I always tell people, this agitation for Biafra, we want a Biafra state, well, we want a Biafran country, we want to leave Nigeria. Look at South Sudan today and tell me whether that is working out for them. You know, the Biafra that you're asking for is going to be a landlocked state.
So we're going to come to that. So we're going to come to the new Biafra. So it's 8:51. We still have so much to cover. Let's come to this. So
Can I just
Obina, yes, please.
Can I just wrap up respond to what Dolapo said? Yeah, in a nutshell. Now, first of all, for there to be healing, there has to be an acknowledgement.
Yes.
There is acknowledgement
I'm coming.
Excuse me, there is acknowledgement on our side about atrocity.
On my own page, I've actually apologized for what the Biafrans did to the minorities. You see, there's nothing shameful about that. I have actually apologized for what the Biafrans did to the minorities. But we should also make it clear that had the main atrocity not happened, the second one would not have taken place. That is one. Then two.
So it was a massacre of Biafra that caused the massacre of other people. That's the way you do it. No.
It's simple, because if there was no civil war, the Biafrans would not have felt choked. That is
the
one.
Civil war is not the atrocities.
I'm not trying to rationalize what the Biafrans did. But you see, there's a problem when the Nigerians try to rationalize what the Nigerians did. But having said that, I'll move to the next point. Now, two, you see, for every South Sudan, there is a Singapore. There is a state where someone gets. You see, trying out an alternative is welcome. Singapore was a state that was knocked out from Malaysia.
Malaysia, yeah.
Right? Yes. So for every South Sudan, there is a Singapore. And even in South Sudan, you see, when you look at a country exists for a period of 100 to 200 years, South Sudan can be argued in the sense that they are just trying to get it right. Yeah? You see, they are talking to themselves as we speak. I'm coming. Then we're talking about South Sudan and Singapore are the two extremes. We now go to Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia broke into pieces because Josip Tito kept on massaging the various fault lines and divisions. Then the genocide happened. Now, do you see that between Kosovo, Belgrade, Serbia, and all those nations, have you seen that there's relative peace there? There is a level of incompatibility where, you know, a little bit of space might be the only
You know
solution.
what? I can always respond to what you just said, but it seems like that will still be a question later on today. But what I wanted to bring out is this. What happened? Like I said, you mentioned something about atrocities against other minorities within Biafra. That was not the only other matter. There were no minorities. The Biafran push outside its defined borders to push into the Midwest, where Ojukwu's goal was to get to Lagos, was not a fight for Biafra to succeed or to exist. It was a fight to take over. But that is one part that people tend to just gloss over like it never really happened. When that push happened into the Midwest, the Midwest were not a minority of Biafra. Do we at least agree on that?
The Nigerian states. Yeah, you're not
right, and there were atrocities committed in there.
The Nigerian state had already declared war on Biafra and had attacked from the Suka sector. So technically, the Nigerian state was at war with Biafra and any region. You can call it a PR blunder by Ojukwu, but militarily there is nothing wrong. You can ascribe whatever the atrocities Biafrans committed in the Midwest as atrocities. But the truth of the matter was this: the Nigerian government reneged on an agreement. 1, 2, the Nigerian government declared war, initially calling it a police action, and an actual military operation took place before Ojukwu started pushing Midwest. That is the history. So that narrative that the Igbos or the Biafra initiated is a pure fallacy.
Can I ask you a question? When the Republic of Biafra was declared by Ojukwu, what exactly were the boundaries? Did they include the South states or not? or they were not states then, the South region, which will probably, be all those Igbos and
yes,
down to
of
the
course.
sea.
The name Biafra was actually coined by an Igbo man.
So
Biafra
hold on.
Igbo
Okay, you answered the question. I have a follow-up question. So it was right to assume then that Ojukwu was saying that, you know what, this Igbo nation will now have other communities in it simply because of the oil region that was there. Yes or no?
No. Ojukwu was the governor. Ojukwu was the governor of the eastern region.
Go on. I'll come in here. Now, the report reaching the federal government under Gowon, in fact, one of the major reasons why Gowon moved against reaching that they called Biafra is actually.
Ekerete, you are a little bit muffled. Ekerete, you are muffled. Can you say something, please? Let me see if we can hear you. Say something.
Yes, I'm saying something.
Okay, yeah, okay. Please try again. Okay. Please try again.
Okay, I was saying that. Now, there were reports that reached federal government under Gowon at the time, and this is in the federal government under Gowon at the time, regarding certain activities of under the auspices of Ojukwu. Now, those reports, which is the one, what moved him, or rather, yes, what motivated him into moving against, Biafra, not really against Biafra per se, but in their context, you see, because like I started saying something that there's a lot of bias. People are talking within certain contexts, and federal government has an official and unofficial narrative on the Biafran war. Now, the official narrative or the unofficial narrative has to do with that they were trying to secure the natural resources of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, Ojukwu, if it wasn't really about oil or money, then Ojukwu wouldn't have, first of all, by the way, Ojukwu first of all ensured that he had secured the resource of the nation. He had Mobile and Shell. Yes, I think it was Mobile and Shell.
They were paying taxes to him for shipping.
Yes.
He had deceived them, cornered them into thinking that they were paying to the federal government. Now, that already is treason. In fact, I think it just reveals to me the greed that was commanding, Ojukwu's so-called movement, for the emancipation of some groups of people that he called the Igbos. And if it was just about emancipating Igbos, why didn't they concentrate only on the Igbos? And why did they have to force others who didn't even want to be a part of them in the first place? And I read how that Ojukwu, the Igbos, had gone into agreement with the South, okay? That is Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Biafra, and then he reneged on his own agreement. The still thing that he's talking about how the government reneged on agreement with Ojukwu, whereas Ojukwu had reneged on agreement between him and, the South states. Now, the South states, therefore, were wondering, okay, how then do we trust this man, these people? How do we hold them to their, how do we hold them to account in the event that something, goes wrong? What if something actually goes wrong? Or let us assume something goes right. Will these people not, turn against us, despite the fact that we're the ones can have, most of the resources? Now, I don't really care about, the whole resource thing. And there are countries that don't have resources.
Can I chip in something here?
Please, please do, Obinna. Yeah. And then I'm going to wrap up this question, please.
You see, this is about the technicalities of the war in a young nation. You understand? Technicalities of a war in a young nation. Like I've said in previous arguments, let us not forget what led to that secession. Now, Of course, it's a disparate. The East is a disparate group of people, so there were bound to be disagreements. There were disagreements even before the war started, and that is why I am very, very happy today. You understand? The Southeast has stuck to itself. You see, the Igbos are not a naturally unreasonable people. They know the quarrels that happened at those times were necessitated by an emergency. These people were running away from mass slaughter. They were running away from mass slaughter, which even their Niger Delta brothers also suffered. Now, in the course of the fight, there came a disagreement and they sabotaged the war. All well and good, we understand. Which is the reason why now there is a new movement that if we decide to go it alone, if we decide to go it again, and the Niger Delta people do not agree, they are ready to take their chances with a landlocked territory. Which brings me back to what Dolapo said.
Sorry,
being landlocked.
I'm going to interject here.
Being landlocked is not a death sentence. Austria is a landlocked nation. 4 of the countries that are fastest growing economies in Africa are landlocked. Austria is a landlocked nation. Go and read it up. Austria, Switzerland is a landlocked nation. Switzerland is a landlocked nation. Rwanda, the fastest growing country, the fastest growing economy, is a landlocked nation.
Switzerland are allies of Switzerland. You can't say Switzerland therefore is a landlocked nation.
So, Bimbo, yes, please. And let me just, for anyone who didn't hear what Ekerete said, Ekerete is saying that in as much as Obina is saying Austria is a landlocked nation, it is not landlocked in the same way that Biafra will be landlocked. Austria is flanked on 4 sides by allies and not by enemies. So it would be very difficult for
Israel is flanked by enemies as well.
Which is why they have the
Israel is flanked by enemies.
Look,
Rwanda.
The Israel you mentioned have the Palestine territory, which gives them access to the sea. All right. Rwanda.
No, we are talking about. You see, the thing is, let's not confound things. Let's not confound things. We are talking about being surrounded by enemies. You understand? Yes. I was coming to Rwanda. Rwanda is almost entirely surrounded by enemies. The Tutsi massacre and everything that went on. If you follow the Congo crisis, you find that Rwanda actually had a stake in the Congo crisis. Rwanda is totally landlocked. Rwanda is one of the 4 fastest growing economies in Africa. So you see, that blackmail is not going to work. It's not because initially they said the Igbos were greedy. The Igbos were greedy about Niger Delta oil and land. You understand? Now they are going on their own. They are threatening with landlocked. It's not going to work. On a personal level, I am pro restructuring.
Might be one of the few people that I've heard who has said it's okay for the Igbos to go alone. Let me tell you that with the discussions I've seen on Facebook, and that's why a lot of Midwesterners, former Midwesterners and Southerners have there speaking, a lot of people claiming to be speaking for the Igbo side or the Biafra side are saying we are taking the South with us. They want to be with us.
Yes. So I wasn't gonna say anything until it got to this point because I don't know nothing about Biafra. But I will tell you now, I do know about Delta and South because that's where I'm from, and there is a lot of noise in that area about Biafra. Better not try it because we are not going with you. But Bimbo was gonna say something. So Bimbo, please speak.
Okay. I'm going to try not to sound blasé about this, and yes, I know people died in the war, and it was absolutely atrocious. But that war happened then. This is now. What people seem to be forgetting is wars are a necessity of any growing nation. It is what happens. It is tough. It is it can be painful. People will die on either side, but frankly, is your country, Nigeria as a whole, whether you separate it out into Biafra and whatever else, as a whole in itself is a broken nation. No one is concentrating on trying to fix that. It's about rehashing what happened 50 years ago and whose grandmother got their all their things stolen and who has to leave their wealth. And unfortunately, people died, and it is horrendous because with wars, everyone always believes they're on the side of right. Everyone always believes God is on their side of the war. But in truthfulness, nobody ever wins. And it is just something that happens in every nation. The making and the part about where you determine if a nation is great is how they do after the war. It is the actions they take to restore their nation to something great, to try and use the pain that they've all felt, that they've all been through, and build something, which was what the United Kingdom did after the Second World War, when NHS was introduced, when so many things were introduced, where council homes were being built in bulk for people to have it. That was the initial stages of council houses. These were people of nation that pulled together because they all suffered. They all had nothing to eat. They lost their children. Some families never found each other. But we keep going back to this. The Biafrans want to have their own one. They want to go away. They want to separate and everything. And the first war, even the first war in itself, nothing could be shown for it. You cannot point out one thing and say, oh yes, after this war, this is what we were able to do as a nation of Igbos or as a nation of Nigerian people. This was what we were able to do. So now that we've been able to recover, to gain strength, we've learned from it, we can do better. They didn't learn anything from it. Nobody learned anything from it. Okay. So even if it happens again, it's going to be exactly the same problem. You're not
Can I respond?
Sorry, who's speaking, please? Is that Obina?
Obina, yeah.
Obina, okay. Please do so succinctly because I have a question for you.
Yeah. You see, the problem with this is people think. You see, the thing is, people just naturally assume that talking about the civil war is equating it with backwardness. It's not.
Yes.
It's not. You see, talking about it is what should happen, which was why, like I said, I did not hesitate to talk about the atrocities Biafra committed against Niger Delta. I did not hesitate to say that if there is any future action, the Niger Delta needs to be consulted. That is the sign of people who are ready to learn from past mistakes. You understand? If I could have things my way, I would rather
Why should they be consulted?
I'm coming.
Why should they be consulted? Why not just have your referendum within Igbo land alone?
Fine,
they are not Igbo. Simple.
That is wonderful.
You don't need to consult them. All right.
No,
if you want to go on your own, don't consult any other groups to see if they want to go with you. That's the way you go.
There is a perfect plan. There is a perfect plan for that. You see, but like you said, when you use your timelines, you use your timelines to judge what's going on. Just as people are saying they don't mind a landlocked Biafra, you have other Niger Deltas telling you that what they are saying is not true. You have other Niger Deltas telling you. So the best way to sort it out, if there are people, there are Niger Deltans who are supporting and who are against, the best thing, we'll consult them, let them have a referendum. If they want to join the Igbo landlocked state, they'll have a referendum and they ask the Biafran. That's the way to do it.
So let me say this.
But I'm coming. The truth is this. The 5 core states, the 5 core Igbo states are ready to go it alone. If perchance there is any success or anything and anybody feels they want to join, success usually has many fathers. Yes, they will seek permission. Then the second thing I want to say is this. You see, nations always appraise and reappraise their unity. I live in the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is a 300-year-old nation. Yet, just 2 years ago, the country barely survived the Scottish referendum. 48% of voters in Scotland voted to leave. This is a nation where things work very well. This is a first world nation, the 8th largest economy in the world. At the time, the largest colonial power in the world barely survived the referendum where 48 people voted to leave. So you see, that's the problem. That's the difference between Nigeria and United Kingdom.
The problem that the United Kingdom is having with getting the Scottish referendum with the problems that Turkey is having.
The thing I'm trying to say is that despite the fact that United Kingdom is functional, they still reappraise their union.
I understand. But let me say this.
You talk about the kind of problems they will have.
let me say this, and then
Nigeria has much more problems. Nigeria has
absolutely.
much more problems.
And Obina, if you were trying to compare the Scottish versus Scottish versus United Kingdom referendum with the Biafran secession, then I would have given it a lot more weight, if you like, if you had said, can we approach the government to give us a referendum? Igbo people on their own want to go. If you are saying the just one sec, please. Yeah. If you are saying what you said, and by the way, let me be clear, I invited you on the show because going through your timeline, actually, I found you one of the more reasoned, considered, pro-Biafran people. I know that you can argue your point intelligently, so that's why I'm like, I need you here. I know you can bring the facts and the figures and what have you. I've seen a lot of people that I'm like, nah, this is just going to descend into insults and whatever. But if there are people, many Igbo people on my timeline who are not saying these things that you're saying, who are not saying the Igbos are prepared to go it on their own. They are saying South is part of us. Southeast is part of us. Delta is part of us. Ijo land is part of us. Whether they like it or not, this is the new Biafra. This is the new map. Okay. This is the map that the IPOB leader has drawn. None of them are saying, in the same way, there are very few, just one sec please, Obina. In the same way, there are very few, if at any at all, pro-Biafrans who did what you say you did, which is to apologize for the war crimes that the Biafrans committed on the Niger Delta and everybody southwest of the 5 core Igbo states. There's many, and again, in the same way, I also have a lot of people on my timeline because of my Delta roots. I have friends from Port Harcourt, Rivers, and all of those places who do not have the slightest idea what Biafra is about or what they want, or any idea of even going with them. People are point blank saying Biafrans killed us. The only time we knew there was a war in Nigeria, you see all those pictures that Biafrans have of Kwashoko children and all those things, they brought Kwashoko to us. They brought death and killing and rape and murder to us. We didn't have a fight. We didn't have a civil war. All we had was herds of marauding Biafrans coming through and obliterating village after village, town after town. So they have no inclination whatsoever. So I don't understand why a group of people have to take a referendum to break free from a group of people who need a referendum to break free from a nation that they are already part of.
Yeah, good. Can I respond to that now?
Please do.
You see, Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter or anything, we tend to look at things from the prism of our timelines. That is one, right? Then two, you see, it is agreed that there was disagreement, whatever happened during the Civil War that led to a lot of bad blood. That I agree. Now, three, you see, not everybody, you understand? First of all, I say it and I make it clear that there is a growing number of Igbos who are ready to go it alone, landlocked or no.
It shouldn't be growing. It shouldn't be growing. It should be the way it should be. If you want a country, you don't get to group other people in it.
Can I finish?
Please do.
Yeah. Because there's a growing number of people who are ready to go it alone, whether it is what it should be or what it should not be or whatever. Thank goodness it is growing and they are realizing this. It shows you that these are people who are ready to reason. Then, number three, you see, just like you have people who are saying they don't want to go, there are also people who are annoyed that the Igbos talk about Biafra without their own side of the Niger Delta. I have my timeline. I have 5,000 friends. I have almost 5,000 followers. There are people who talk. There are people who are angry. Why are you talking about 5 core southeastern states? So it's obvious that there is a split somewhere. I don't know where the majority lies. I suspect that the majority don't want to go, but I don't know.
Well,
I'm coming. I'm not finished. Let me finish my thought.
Don't want to be a part of Biafra.
No, they don't. The majority of non-Igbo No.
No,
There's
you cannot. Excuse me, you cannot
Obina,
say
there's
majority.
3
You cannot
people
say
in a
majority
room
after reading
telling
your
you the
timeline.
same thing.
Hello,
Okay,
you
but you are
cannot
saying, but you
monopolize
just
this
claimed your own
conversation, all
timeline.
right?
Obina, you just gave credit to your own timeline, saying 5,000. So your
No,
timeline
exactly.
has more
That's what
validity than mine. No,
I
if
will
that
No,
is
I'm
tell.
not
what
saying it
your
has more
timeline is
validity.
saying, that's fine for you.
Listen.
Yes.
I never said it has no validity.
Listen.
I said
I'm
there
not
is a
going
split
to
somewhere.
argue about what you have on your timeline, because basically the people that will side with you would have read the way you slant your own views and agree with you. So I would not be surprised if majority of people that post on your side, on your timeline or comment on your timeline side with the idea of Biafra or some other groups going along with Biafra. That does not show that it is majority. Nor does it say it is a minority, but does not show it's a majority.
Exactly.
But
you agree.
Hello.
You
Let me finish. Let me finish.
You agree it is neither majority nor minority. I am a scientist.
Yeah.
You see,
No,
when there's
but
a
what you're
conflict with
doing,
something,
what you're
numbers
doing when you say that a lot of people on your timeline agree with this particular move or this particular operation or action or whatever, what you're trying to say is you're trying to skew the perspective by saying, no, it represents the majority, and it does not.
No. Listen. You're getting me totally wrong. I said we should not analyze situations based on our timeline alone.
Let me just state this. Let me state this quick.
1 minute, please. 1 minute, please. 1 minute, please. Can I have? Can I just have a minute? Character, your audio is very low, so I recognize that you were trying to say something, but obviously one is here.
I'm using a headphone. I'm using an earphone.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We can hear you now. I'm just saying, when the whole fracas was going on, I could hear you in the background, but we couldn't. So now let me get everyone to be quiet. And if you'd like to say something, please do. And then I'm going to come to you, Buki.
Yes, I think, you see, Obina initially tried to create the impression that he's unbiased. And I pointed out that there is really no way for us to determine that he's unbiased. However, we know that humans tend to, push forward their interests, suggesting, therefore, inherent bias in a lot of things that we do. Now, Obina thinks that he is the voice of Biafra. He is not the voice of Biafra. That is fact. Now, whatever is happening within the prison of his timeline, like he says, only suggests what happened within the prison of his timeline. It doesn't suggest what happened.
And I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that.
Please, let him finish.
I never disputed that.
Okay, so he's saying that he finds so and so people think that they would like to join Biafra. And then he's saying that there are those people who are non-Igbos who are trying to, who he thinks, because he'll say, this is the truth. It's not the truth, just the opinion that people who are non-Igbos will join him. I'm sorry, people who are non-Igbos will not join in Biafra. A lot of Igbos will not join in Biafra.
You see, that statement
I'm sorry,
is
please,
not categorical.
You should listen to me. There is something Biafrans need to do, and that is to take, they are calling it a referendum thing, right? Now, this is actually how it goes. You take a poll of every person on their own. In fact, I think I can design that system if, they'll pay me for it. I can design a system where, people can actually vote, and it would be impossible within limits, of course, to know who voted for what. You take a poll, Biafrans, Igbos, non-Igbos, Jaws, South, whatever, people south of the Niger generally, to find out if they want Biafra. I'll put it to you, Obina, that more than half will not want Biafra.
That is your own opinion, but I will trust the numbers.
Beautiful.
I will trust the numbers.
So we'll wait for the numbers. So let me.
Can I say something about how 50,000 people were shot in the north, and you said they were Igbos. I'm sorry, they were not Igbos.
Now, I work in Panchin in Plateau.
Oh, they were not Igbos. They were not Igbos.
Listen.
They were not only
Igbos.
I said they were not only Igbos. They were not all Igbos.
That's what he meant to say.
Last week.
Were you in his mind? You said that is what he meant to say. I just heard they were not
Not
Igbos.
what I meant.
Well, he just corrected himself now, right?
Sorry,
I
Ekerete, I'm gonna need you to round this up real quick because we're gonna move on really swiftly now. So yes, you were saying these people were not all Igbos that were killed.
Yes, in Panchin, before independence, after independence, there were these things, fights about, hey, you're from the south, I'm not from the south, you're from the south, or you are against Nigeria, we're going to kill you. Okay, now from an eyewitness who was actually my boss presently, said how he saw people running for their lives, like they were being chased down like dogs, killed. And then he said, actually, now that he knows better, they were not all Igbos, because they were not all people who spoke Nyamiri kind of Igbo. There were also people from my side. I am from Akwa Ibom State. There were people that were Igala. There were people that were Igbira. There were generally people just not speaking Hausas, so regarded as Igbo. So yes, your 50,000 is very, very wrong, highly incorrect. They were not all Igbo. You see, the problem I have with Biafra and Igbo is that Igbo think
I never said they were all Igbos. I never said they were all Igbos. But it's obvious the intention of what the murderers were.
Minorities. Now with that kind of mindset of, okay, you calling yourself majority, you're not the only one whose people suffered, during the war, but you think you're the only one who you think you are the majority that suffer. The minorities who suffer, they don't count. You see, if we're to consider proportion, right? Maybe there's actually more a larger proportion of the minorities who suffered the effect of the war more than the Igbos, because if 10% of 10 million suffered, that's a million. If a million of 10 million, so that's 10%. However, if a million of 3 million suffer, that's 30%. And that is what I try to make people see. Yes, the numbers are there. Then there's the proportion, because if starving 5 people, starving a small family of 5, has more effect on that particular family than starving. Yes.
I think you're beginning to split hairs here. You're beginning to,
I think so too. And I really want us to move on, please. Let me go to Buki. Buki wants to make a point about how long it takes to actually have a referendum, how long it takes to fight to have a referendum. Buki, would you like to chip in, please, if you're still with us?
Yes, my issue with the Biafran fight for a referendum is the way they're going about it. They're going about it in the, forgive me, typical gra Nigerian way. We are shouting for something, so we must have it, and we must have it now. And if we scream and throw tantrums, we will get it. That's not how nations fight for referendums. The Scottish started fighting for a referendum from 1930. In 1930, the Scottish wrote a petition. The Scottish Covenant was a petition to the UK government asking for home rule. It was formally written and submitted in 1949. Within that time, the people fighting for this got 2 million Scottish people to sign this covenant. The population of Scotland was 5.1 million. So they got almost half of Scotland to sign a petition asking for home rule in 1949. When did the Scottish get their referendum? 2 years ago.
2015.
What did the Scottish need to do to get a referendum? They had to form a party. That was
have been fighting since the 1600s to try and get the country back.
For a referendum. They had to go about it politically. The Scottish National Party was formed to create a national home for Scotland. And they kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting until they became the majority. And when they did, they were in a stronger position to ask for a referendum. What is Biafra doing? Are you getting your politicians to fight for a referendum? Don't tell me that your politicians are not fighting. Vote them out. Vote. Set up. You already have an Igbo party. Let that Igbo party say we are only going to support candidates who want a referendum. Vote only for House of Reps and senators and governors who will fight for a referendum. Do it politically.
Right. Can I reply to her?
Excuse me.
Just 1 minute.
Because then we will take you seriously. Until this is done in NAS, take it from me, the rest of Nigeria just sees it as some people shouting.
Yes.
So unless you take up arms against the Nigerian government and decide to fight that way,
politically,
the only
yes,
other way to get it is politically. And your political and social leaders have to start fighting for this referendum. You can't say all Igbo people want it when your politicians don't want it. At least they're not telling us they want it. When your politicians, when the 5 Igbo governors are saying, give us a referendum, when all the Igbo senators are saying, give us a referendum, take it from me, we will listen to you. But as it is now, it just seems like, forgive me, and I love my Igbo brethren, it just seems like you are just making a lot of noise. And think. Can
I reply now? I think I've gotten the point you want to make. Now, yes, the Scottish National Party, the Scottish people started fighting for referendum in 1949. That's fine.
1930.
Now, 1930 or whatever time, yeah. So, let me say this first of all. See, I'm well steeped in history. I'm not a fan of Nnamdi Kanu. I believe Providence uses horrible people to achieve noble things. I would not like a Biafra with Nnamdi Kanu as president or whatever. That's one. However, one cannot deny the fact that he has brought this to the front burner. Regarding the concerted effort and noise making, I do not think a successful sit at home that got national attention can exactly be seen as noise making.
Sorry, do you think the sit at home was successful? Is that what the Igbo...
The sit at home was entirely successful in the Southeast.
Oh, okay, in the
Southeast.
Southeast.
Was entirely successful
when
in the
Southeast. When you're talking about Southeast, you're talking about the 5 core Igbo states once again, right?
Yeah, the 5 core Igbo states.
So that's fantastic. That's okay.
It was entirely successful in the Southeast. There was virtually no activity in the Southeast.
That's okay.
Politicians are beginning. Can I finish? Let me finish talking. Let me articulate my point. Let me articulate my point, please. Now, it was a sit at home. There was no violence directed at anybody. No, okay, maybe it's some innuendos in social media and all that. You can't help that. You understand? It was a sit at home. It was not directed at. It was no actual physical hatred was directed at anybody. It got the attraction. It got the attention of the whole nation. There was a symposium, a seminar that held in Abuja, where the vice acting president attended and gave a plea for the country's unity, which I have no problem with. He's the president of Nigeria. He has to defend. He has to argue for the unity. But if you say it's noise making, my dear, I'm telling you, you might get a rude shock. Two.
It is noise making.
You're not in a position to have a referendum.
I'm coming. Two. Politicians in the Southeast are beginning to get the calibration of politicians is beginning to be measured with regards to what the pulse in the Southeast is. If you sit down and realize, as despicable as Nnamdi Kanu's campaign was, look at the caliber of people who called for his release. Look at the caliber of people who went to talk with him. That is two. Then I'm coming. Then three,
yes, because we
then
only have
three.
30 minutes, and it seems like you're monopolizing time a lot here.
And
All right.
three. If you check the interviews, there was a recent interview where House of Rep members are now beginning to call for an inclusion of referendum clause in our constitution, which, by the way, is currently absent. This is at the level of the House of Rep members from the Southeast.
You know,
So
this in our constitution that you talk about, first of all, there is a clause where it says that the constitution can be amended. Guess the committee that heads that particular function? Guess who heads that committee?
Is that Kwaramadu, Deputy
Right. So you see,
Yes.
there's a problem. There is a problem that you guys are not dealing with. Number one, your core leaders, which includes your politicians, your governors, your House of Reps, your senators, and all of that. You guys are not holding them accountable for things. You see, there is
You
no
just- you
Igbo
didn't listen
marginalized.
to what I
Hello,
just
you
said.
talked.
You
You
didn't
talked.
listen to
You
what I
talked.
just said.
Hello,
Wait,
you
please.
talked. All right. You're not holding them responsible. The marginalization that is being cried about all over the place, Igbo people are marginalized, is funds are allocated to your core Igbo states. What were they used for? Rather, your leaders are busy having houses all over the country, except in maybe one in their hometown or whatever. You guys are not holding them responsible. Rather, you are holding Buhari and saying Buhari is the one that is destroying your life because Jonathan did all so great for you guys up till 2 years ago. Now, let me state one thing. Nigeria as a whole will be better than Nigeria fragmented.
Yeah.
We are going to be a better and a bigger nation, and we'll have a bigger voice in the Committee of Nations. Now, if we decide to go this route of fragmenting it because you want Biafra, or silence some people that scream about or do our state or whatever, then we'll become nothing other than like Togo, each one of us, with no voice. The only reason
I'd
why
rather
people pay attention.
I'd rather a peaceful Togo than a fractious.
Hello. The time I tried to interrupt you, you basically implied that I wasn't being nice.
Oh, talk.
All right.
Talk.
All right. Now, as a nation, I believe that we can go beyond all these stupid things that we're arguing about now. And I'm not being insulting when I say stupid things. What I mean is we can grow. The whole Southeast region can become the manufacturing heartland of our nation.
Yep.
But they don't want to be. They just want to be on their own.
Yeah.
So that if they crash and burn on their own. If they do well and raise like Phoenix from the flames, they do it on their own. They don't want to contemplate. Sorry, who's speaking, please? Come. Oh, Buki. Okay, hi, Buki.
When you say they don't want to, it sounds like all Igbos want Biafra.
Exactly.
A lot of Igbos do not want Biafra.
They do not want. You only listen to the loud ones.
Take it cool.
You see, I think all that needs is a poll. Now, I have figures of a particular poll beside me. Let me tell you, can I make a small confession here?
Mm-hmm.
I am a federalist. I believe in a restructured Nigeria. People listen to me because, let me make two confessions. One, I voted Buhari. Right?
I know that.
Two, do you know me? How did you know?
I know you on
Buki,
Facebook.
you know Buki Hassan. You know Buki very well.
Okay.
Obinna.
Yeah, I voted Buhari. You see, one thing people don't understand about me, I am very, very nuanced. I'm a nuanced person. I voted Buhari. I lashed Jonathan from the first second he came into office to the time he left. Two, I am not a fan of Nnamdi Kanu. I'm not a fan of IPOP. But you see, I like picking out the sense in every argument. I took a very unpopular position when I was against Jonathan. I took a very unpopular. I was an endangered species. Now, having said that, I am for a restructured Nigeria. But I believe, you see, when people blackmail you into a union and refuse to listen to you, there has to be an exit plan.
Okay. So can I say something?
It's like an abusing spouse who keeps abusing you but refuses to grant a divorce.
Fantastic, beautiful. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about. I love this. Okay, sorry.
I love him to expand. What is this continued abuse that's going on?
What does a divorce? Because Buki stated at length. Let me go back to what I would like you to. 1 minute, please, Obinna. 1 minute, please. Yeah. I would like you to tie your response to what Buki said about a referendum. Understand this. I don't want another civil war. I would imagine no Nigerian, either pro or against Biafra, wants another civil war. So if Buki is making a point about referendums, i.e., do this in the political way, is there a form wait, slow down. No. Not sit at home, not protest, not nothing, not Facebook, not lamentations, not none of that. Is there a referendum that has been, a petition that has been signed in front of the national government? Has there been given a time frame for them to answer this? What are the steps involved in a secession? Or are we just going to assume that it's just going to be Kanu, IPOB, etc., and one day, if nobody listens to them and they get fed up, they're just going to go shoot the president in the head and then do what they want to do by themselves.
Listen.
So what are the political steps being taken for a new Biafra?
There is a reason that people like us are entering this discussion. Mm-hmm. Like I've always told you, if you check my timeline, when did Nnamdi Kanu start? Whatever. I actually advocated that Radio Biafra be shut down. I hate messages that border on hate. You understand? But you see, I foresaw a situation where we will get to a hill. We are at that hill now. And for correction, to be honest, the agitation for Biafra has been on since Obasanjo's time. So let's not have that impression that Buhari initiated it. It only got louder. You don't forget there was mass-up, but that's by the way. So we are here to make sure that this thing is articulated. Nnamdi Kanu started with hatred and violence, and I hated it. And that was why at that point in time, I never talked about anything Biafra. Until Nnamdi Kanu became a prisoner of conscience. Probably not by his own design. You understand? So now what we are saying is this. The thing is going into a political level. Leaders in the Southeast are having their relevance calibrated by how they identify with the aspirations of the Southeast. When a caliber of someone like, what's his name, Charles Soludo, Fatu Tomi, are calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, it shows you that a paradigm shift is happening. Now, I have access to some numbers of a particular poll. Not all Igbos are in for straight out Biafra, whether with or without the Niger Delta. You understand? Not all Igbos are in. Mm-hmm. Almost half of Igbos who were polled are in for a thoroughly restructured Nigeria. Another 25%, or is it 28%? I don't have the figures here. We're out for, I don't know if it's the Biafra with Niger Delta. Another one went for core pure Igbo Biafra. Then another 5% was on the side. I don't have the figure. But what hit me was that these things are a reaction of a nation that is tone deaf. It is like a spouse who is complaining. This is what is happening. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. At the end of the day, at some point, it is a spouse who is always has her happiness at heart. She will want an exit plan.
The spouse is complaining to her mother and mother-in-law, not complaining to the husband.
Oga, can you at least now just educate me? Because when you make that analogy about it's like a spouse who keeps getting abused, I would like to know exactly what are the current abuses going on.
Good.
Against
now,
good.
I would educate you. Now, you see this word called marginalization. You understand? Well, you know why it's difficult to fathom out an Igbo marginalization? Because Nigeria is desolate as a nation in general, right? Nigeria is
Therein lies
desolate.
your problem.
Everybody is suffering.
Therein lies your argument. No
Therefore,
offense,
there is no
therein lies your
marginalization.
argument.
Everybody is
Exactly.
wretched.
Have I finished? Have
If
I
Nigeria
come?
is
I'm
desolate,
You have
I
just
want
No,
to
said that
so
there
far-
is no marginalization.
We're-
It's just phantom.
We're
Why are you
equal
putting
participants
words
on the
into my
subject.
mouth?
politicians,
Okay,
Why are you
please,
putting words-
exactly.
please let him
Can I
finish.
finish?
Please let him finish.
Can I
Let him
finish?
finish.
Now, everyone is suffering, but some people are suffering more than the others.
How?
Really?
Right?
How?
I'm coming.
Wait, let him talk. Yes.
One. There is. There was a time I classified there is cyclical marginalization. This is the type of marginalization of people who are out of the power equation face.
Because
You
they
understand?
backed the wrong
What I
horse.
say, because I'm coming, because a part of the country is in power, the part of the country outside power, you understand, feels it. An example can be the DSS appointment, where 51 out of the 100 and something candidates came from Katsina State alone. Now, the whole of Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria faces that kind of marginalization. The Yorubas said they faced it during Goodluck Jonathan's time. The Igbos claim they are facing it now. The Hausas claim they faced it during Obasanjo. That is cyclical. It happens to everybody.
Oh,
Right?
Forget about
That is
cyclical.
cyclical.
One that has
Now
always
I'm
been
coming.
constant.
Can I finish?
Look,
Now
sorry. I have to make this point because I've kind of let people who know about Biafra talk about Biafra, but in general, if you're going to talk about marginalized people, and in Nigeria specifically, we know everyone is suffering, but let's look at the female Hausas are one of the most marginalized group of people in the world. So they're saying that they want to now separate and go on. Everyone that's why Nigeria in itself as a nation is what needs to work for it to be great, for it to grow. Or else,
and you haven't even talked
single
about
body is going to be marginalized in a certain way.
Bimbo, you haven't talked about the middle belts. There's whole tribes I've never even heard of.
The middle belt
And
is the most marginalized in the
exactly.
country.
Exactly.
They have over 200 tribes. I don't know.
Wait, oh, Jesus Christ.
Whiny. No offense, but
You see, that is why I keep saying, you see, this whole thing, this whole sentiment.
Please, let's not have a gang
whole
up mentality. Can we just take a minute, please?
You guys don't allow me.
Yeah,
to
but I mean,
my words.
This is so far you basically control 50% of the time.
Yes,
also.
Obina, to be fair, you've spoken. 1 minute, please. 1 minute, please.
That's because I'm the only person on one side, isn't it? I'm the only person. I mean, if I say 50% of the time, it's only fair because I'm on one side. I'm the only person who's arguing in favor. Nobody.
So let me say this now before we round this up, because we have 15 minutes to go and I just want to keep it, I've tried to keep it together, but this is such a huge topic that it would have been impossible to completely finish this within 2 hours. In not next week, which is the 14th, but the week after that, which is the 21st of June, there's been a lot of communication going on back of house. We're getting a lot of comments on Facebook. I can't even talk about them right now because there's just not enough time. We're thinking about having another show. So this second show in 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to reach out to Obina, I'm going to reach out to Ekerete, I'm going to reach out to Buki, I'm going to reach out to a whole bunch of you, and maybe some other speakers as well. We're going to talk about new Biafra. So the whole 1 hour that we spent talking about Ojukwu and spent talking about what the Igbos wanted, what they didn't want, who died, whose grandfather was running and all of that, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about 2017 Biafra. We're going to talk about this new Biafra. What does the pro-Biafrans want now? What does that look like in reality? And how does Nigeria move forward? I was very, very naive to think we could do this in 2 hours and try to see if everybody, it's just huge. It's huge. So Obina, if you just give us a minute, please, because I understand that you are the one voice on your side, and I will try to even that out on the next show and maybe get a couple more pros if we don't end up with a marketplace riots, basically. But
I think we should get more pros than cons.
Yes, if that is possible. No, let me say this again, because I said it before about Obina, and it sounds
a politician in making.
it sounds like I'm kissing his butt, but I'm actually not. There is a reason why he was picked. I can go through my timeline and I can give you any number of pro-Biafra people. I can have 50 people on the show, but I struggled to find anyone who could articulate. And Buki herself has said, she's friends with him on Facebook. She's seen a few of his posts and things like that. I struggled to find anyone who could articulate themselves. You would be surprised. And Obina, this is maybe work that, some sort of constructive criticism that you can take away.Maybe build a team or an army of Biafrans who are more than just rabble rousers. Like, I read the whole 29th, 30th, 31st of May, the whole couple days between the Democracy Day. I can't tell you how many Facebook friends requests I got from Igbo people. And so when I see a friend request and the name doesn't, 20 friends in common, okay, I'll click on their profile to even see whether Napesi will get sense or what have you. And it's like, no, death to all Yorubas I've seen, death to all Northerners I've seen, whether you like it or not, Biafra must go, I've seen.
Nigeria is a zoo.
And I've seen all sorts of things, and I'm like, hit me with something that will make me consider your stand. And over again, I kept coming back to Obina's post. So I will try and get more pros, really, but I want to take this opportunity to commend you. In as much as you've not managed to flip me to be pro Biafra, I still think, yes, you argue it intelligent. And you have showed me something that I've kind of always suspected, but I didn't know to be true. A lot of what the Igbos want is emotional. I don't think it can be put into logic, not to say it's illogical, but it's the same way the Scottish people are saying, yes, we don't like it, yes, leave us, let us be going, yes, we need the we don't want, yes, the pound is very strong, we don't want, yes, we want.
I disagree. A lot of what they want, what they want are emotional. I agree. But you see, the ones that you can make sense of are quite critical. The ones you can make sense of are quite critical.
So I'm curious. Let's take this last 10 minutes. Please tell me, what do the Igbos want now? I'm not talking about the
uniquely
the
an
civil
Igbo
war, not the civil war
Nigeria is the most,
fight.
Yeah, Nigeria is the most unitary federation in the world. Nigeria, you understand, a contradiction. It's like saying somebody is the most womanly man in the world. Nigeria is the most unitary federation in the world. And
yes, so you want decentralization of power.
A situation where someone of the caliber of the Attorney General is saying that Nigeria will never restructure. It informs you the amount of tone deafness that is going on in high places. It shows you they are not even in the same nation where someone is saying they want to secede, and another person is saying they will not restructure in 100 years.
I'm still waiting for that thing that is uniquely an Igbo issue that shows the marginalization. Something that is uniquely that we can now say, that's right.
When I was talking about marginalization, you guys cut me short because I was talking about cyclical. I was going to go into structural. Yeah. I was going to go into cultural.
Because the moment you start talking about cyclical, at that point, it now shows that we all suffer the same thing.
There are certain things that Igbo suffer uniquely, and it has to do with life and property, my dear.
That's okay. Tell us about
it has to do with life and property.
Namely?
Just yesterday, the Kaduna whatever people, the Kaduna Declaration were telling Igbos to leave the north.
I totally disagree with that. Was it the Northern Youth whatever press release?
Exactly.
Right. Hold on. Hold on. Yes, you mentioned it, and I'm telling you that I totally disagree with it. I'm not Hausa, I'm Yoruba, definitely. But I can tell you, when all the noise that we hear, and I'll try to believe that just because it's the noise does not mean it's the majority. But when all the noise you hear is Nigeria is a zoo, Yoruba people are traitors, Awolowo is a war criminal, Yoruba people we don't want to do that, and yet the Yoruba region has been the most accommodating of all, including even when we factor in Igbo land. You guys have not been as accommodating to Yoruba as we have been.
You see. Let's try and
unless you want to tell me I'm wrong.
Let's try and correct something here. First of all,
please respond to that. No, don't deflect. Would you say, Obinna, that would you agree with Dolakbo or would you disagree with Dolakbo, and why on each case?
That's what I'm trying to say. If you go to Igbo land, you understand? There's one thing I want to correct. First of all, the Igbos are the most widely traveled in Nigeria.
Yes.
Much more than any other ethnic group.
Yes.
So to gauge the Yorubas are not one of the most traveled. So to gauge it upon mutual acceptance of foreigners, I think is a very, very misleading front. Why am I saying it? If
this is interesting. Wait, let him finish this.
If
it's only 10 Yoruba people that showed up in Igbo land, and 8 of them are complaining that you know what? Igbo people are not accommodated. No.
Go to that's what I'm saying. If you go to Umuahia, the bulk of those who are in the artisan business and the zinc business are Yorubas. That is a fact.
Doing business.
And
they are
now. The first mayor of Enugu was an Hausa man. The first mayor of Enugu was an Hausa man.
This is the position that was voted in. This was the position that was voted in, right?
Yes, the first mayor of Enugu
this was part of a
Mayor Umaru.
So we have a position in the political process called the mayor in Igbo land, right?
In the First Republic, in the First Republic. But this is a verifiable information.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Buki.
Yeah, but it's a verifiable information.
But then across Nigeria, there are many Igbos who are in government.
No, but what I'm saying is that Umaru was mayor over 50 years ago. He was mayor over 50 years ago.
So if he was
50 years ago.
Why don't your come today?
Can Umaru or Abiola be an attorney general in Igbo today?
The first republic was still Oyinbo today.
Right.
Today.
No. The First Republic, do not confuse it. The First Republic was not Oyinbo. Ahmadu Bello, as at the time Ahmadu Bello gave his statement about expelling Igbos, Umaru Altine was the mayor of Enugu. The same time. At about the time the Northern Nigeria House of Assembly was figuring out what to do with the exploding population of the Igbo problem, Umaru Altine was the mayor of Enugu. So let's not even go there.
But now, that's what I'm saying.
Of the Yorubas,
So basically, you disagree with my assertion. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
The Yorubas are generally accommodating. They are about the most accommodating ethnic group in Nigeria. That is a fact. But you see, let us look at this in context. Let's not overblow it. Number one, the Igbos are not coming to your place and you're dashing them houses. They are paying for their land. They are paying for the property. And is
that easy to buy property over in Igbo land?
Vice versa.
Can we pay for? Hold on.
In cosmopolitan areas in Igbo land, yes. And my lecturer, I'm a medical doctor. My lecturer in UNCH, Mr. Olushino, owned a house in Transekulu, Highbrow area in Enugu. My Physics 101 lecturer in Nsuka owned a plot of land in Nsuka.
You are saying this categorically that he owned the land, or you know he lived in that house?
No. And also, let us talk about this. Let's talk about
to him for free, and if he was, is this something that is part of a university policy, regardless of that person's ethnicity. So it's all well.
No, it was not a university policy.
So
it was not a university policy. So why was not a university policy?
Can I say
this
something,
is a man.
please? So this is where we're going to struggle with this, and we just have 5 minutes left.
In Panshin who own their lands and their houses. What is this man saying?
This is what I'm trying to understand.
There are Igbos in Jos who own, sorry, please. In Plateau State, there is an area called Apata. Igbos live there. They've lived there for more than 70 years. The first people to move in there were the Yorubas. That was like 80 or 90 years ago. And then the Igbos came in. They own the land. They own the area. I don't know. Why are you saying they pay rent?
What am I saying? What am I saying? Was sorry.
Everywhere, because
that
you made a blanket statement as though Igbos outside of Igbo land only pay rent.
No. I don't think he said that.
I think you should listen properly before talking.
Wait,
no, there was no need for that.
Wait.
There was no need for that.
He said, what is this man saying? He said, what is this man saying?
I just corrected him by saying I was the one that made the statement about rent. Saying that
I said it's not as if the Igbo people came to the West and they were given land free of charge. They pay their bills.
To lecturers
they pay their bills. They pay their rent. They pay their tenement rates. They obey the laws. They serve punishment for infraction of the law. So what I'm trying to say is this. Yeah. Yes, it's true. Within the desolate land called Nigeria, where some others are being killed and their properties looted. Yeah. Accommodating someone, who is law-abiding is considered okay. But should not be overbloated.
On that note, let's round this up, because that in itself is such a nuanced statement. There's plenty of law-abiding people in a desolate Nigeria who are still not given the opportunity to settle down and do what they want to do. You yourself have said it that Yorubas. You explained away the Yoruba hospitality by saying, that's how they are, because you explained that Yorubas are some of the most accommodating people in Nigeria. You are now saying something about law abiding. No, there are plenty of people who come over to Igbo land.
What I said is that it should not be over. It should not be exaggerated. We are simply seeing it as heroic, because
comparatively speaking, there's no exaggeration. Comparatively speaking, for people that cry about marginalization, you sure are not practicing a whole lot of goodwill yet. That's what I'm saying.
No. It's not about goodwill. It's not about goodwill. It's about the biased way you're seeing things. I said compared to areas where people who have lived for several decades, are being killed in cold blood. We have properties looted. Yes, it is considered fine. It's considered okay.
I can make it personal, because I think on the last show we had, I told a little story. I think, what was the topic we're talking about? Biases that people may have about marriage and everything. I told a story about my mom saying, you can't marry an Igbo woman or whatever. Not because she just basically didn't like Igbo people. Like I said, she grew up in the East, and she remembered when the war started, they basically lost everything and had to run back to the West.
So the same thing that you accuse everybody else of doing when it comes to marginalization of Igbos have done it before. So if you want secession, that's fine. How do we go about secession? That's what the next program is going to be on. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so grateful that you have stayed with us. I'm so grateful that we were able to have this show and it didn't come to blows. I apologize to the listeners. It might seem as if we kind of skated back and forth and went over. That was just because we felt we had 2 hours until we were kind of having a discussion between the radio show panel back of house about what we should do, because it felt like we were just literally touching each topic and not actually scratching the surface. So I'm thinking not next week, because we need for tempers to cool down. We need for people to gather their thoughts now that everyone everyone has kind of understood the way the show goes and the way that we do business around here, I think maybe not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, which will be the 21st of June, there will be another show the exact same time, 8 to 10 p.m. West African time, or GMT if you like. I will be reaching out to all of the callers today to see if they will be interested in joining us yet again. Obina, if you are interested, I will try to make sure that we have a couple more people who will be on the foresight. I don't want anyone to walk away with the feeling of being ganged up on. I really don't want. I felt like you held your own, but I also don't feel like you should do it on your own. So if you are interested in joining us again on the 21st, we'll have that discussion offline. To the rest of you, to Bookie, you've seen that you're in my trouble now. You can not escape. You are coming back in a fortnight, and then you and I will still do that one thing that we talked about. Bookie, can you still hear me?
I am hearing
I don't know all this coded message.
No. So Bookie has been approached. Bookie, I'm putting you on blast in front of everyone now. Bookie has been approached to host a weekly show, Just Politics. Abi Bookie Shemokbara?
You are not lying.
Bookie has been approached to host. She's been very, very radio shy. We've been trying to work out what's best with her time, what's best with obviously a full life and a job and with kids and all of that. So this is something that we have ongoing because we want to bring you more content, and we want to bring you intelligent content, right? Stuff you can resonate with, stuff you can actually call in and discuss. I did not call out the numbers to dial more than once, because when I saw the number of people on the show, I was like, I don't need any new voices. It's already quite saturated as it is. I cannot thank you all enough. Ekerete, thank you so much. I will be speaking to you after the show. I'm sorry there were times we couldn't hear you, but your contribution when we could hear it was fantastic. This is why I brought you on. I really, really love to have educated voices. Bookie, I am so grateful. To the rest of the bad gang, you know how we do. Dolakbo, let me tell you something I was whispering to Reshe back of house that you didn't know. Come, let me give you the apropos. I was telling her that I have a whole new level of respect for you. So we should stop using Dolakwa as just sexy baritone voice alone. He knows book. So from now on...
I'm going to fight you for this one. I think we are going to be fighting.
Why? You want to fight me for Dolakwa? I am the least of your problems. Remileko is your problem.
Is that Bimbo that is talking, or is that Carmen?
That's Rachel.
No,
that's
don't
Rachel.
even call my own name. It's Rachel.
Okay. Okay. I didn't hear that voice.
So thank you so much. We are completely out of time. We're 3 minutes over. To the guests, once again, I cannot thank you enough. I'll be speaking to you all offline, but I just want to put this out there on air to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for handling such a delicate topic with the utmost sensitivity and intelligence. You've made this show exactly what it was. I'm so grateful. To the rest of you, we have a Proco Hour on Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. as you know, and we are back again next week with a new topic on the Talking Drum, Wednesday 8 to 10 p.m. and I think we'll have Biafra Take 2 on the 21st, so be expectant, be anticipatory, and tune in for that show. At this point, I say good night to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and see you again next week. Say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Very much.
Bye.